Hi, it's McCready here, and this is my second APEC video. Like most international conferences that I've been to, some of the best networking and discussion opportunities happen outside of the formal proceedings. To get to Rusky Island involved two separate bus journeys. The caliber of people that I sat next to on those buses, or at the dinner table, or bumped into at one of the parties, was mind-blowing. $21 billion was spent getting Vladivostok ready for APEC, and this was obvious straight after stepping off the plane. As well as a new airport terminal, motorways, bridges, fountains, playgrounds, man-made waterfalls and rubbish bins, there were APEC signs welcoming delegates all over the city. The official APEC parties were obviously pretty phenomenal. At the welcome reception, President Putin made a surprise appearance, and there was a surplus of caviar and vodka. The outdoor CEO summit party, sponsored by Beluga Vodka, held at the end of the first full day of sessions, featured the famous Russian accordionist Peter Drunga. He was excellent, but was really no match for the runners-up of Eurovision this year, the Buranovsky Babushki, made up of retired women from the Russian village of Buranovo. The majority of the performers are in their 70s, and their appearance on stage brought the entire crowd onto the dance floor to see them. The closing reception for APEC Week was held on board the Legend of the Seas cruise ship. As well as spectacular food, entertainment featured the violinist and conductor Vladimir Spivakov, along with his chamber orchestra. There were also Russian pop stars and the largest fireworks and laser show I have ever seen. The 20-minute display over Golden Horn Harbour next to our cruise ship reportedly cost nearly $9 million, consisting of 150 scenes accompanied by music. We went on a number of organised tours throughout Vladivostok, where we visited a Soviet S-class submarine, Vladivostok Central Square, churches, the Triumphal Arch constructed in honour of the visiting Tsar Nicholas II, and other historic monuments. Outside of the formal proceedings, the chairman of our Small and Medium Enterprise Working Group celebrated his birthday. A group of us went out to a Singaporean restaurant, and his birthday request was to go out for karaoke. Evidently, Asian culture makes a fairly significant appearance in the far east of Russia, and while it wasn't quite the same type of karaoke I've experienced in Japan or even New Zealand, it was fantastic. And the Russian delegates thought our renditions of popular Russian songs were particularly hilarious. After the conference came to a close, I remained in Vladivostok for a couple of days because the Vladivostok airspace was only open to charter flights. These 2 days ended up being some of the most fun and memorable of the trip, because at this point delegates had become quite good friends and we spent time being shown around by the locals. We took an intrepid journey in a minivan out to Fortress number 7. The 5 metres of reinforced concrete on the exterior shows the strict requirements of the fort, and we spent hours exploring the fortress's underground tunnels and trenches. Vladivostok literally means to rule the east, and has been fortified from the very first days of its existence, and this fortress is one of the largest and unique historical military monuments in the Russian Federation. After our trip to the fortress, we headed into the Vladivostok city centre, where an APEC after-party was underway for the locals of the city. We went up on the Ferris wheel and then spent time out in the harbour on pedal boats. We carried on our tourist activities into the night, taking the cable car up to the Eagle's Nest lookout. The following day was my last in Vladivostok, and we spent it having a picnic at a local beach. And with humidity nearly at 99%, it was the perfect way to spend the day. I went into Russia with the usual stereotypes. I thought everybody owned Matryoshka dolls. I thought that vodka was available at all times, everywhere. And I thought that it was always cold. I left Russia with a totally different perception. It turns out that, despite asking, I couldn't find a single Russian that owned a Matryoshka doll. However, that didn't stop me buying one before I left. Vodka is also apparently not as popular as it's made out to be, although the duty-free shop at the airport had the most extensive assortment I've ever seen. And I even left Russia sunburnt from the beach. Sure, Vladivostok still needs further investment. Just a few months before the conference began, $1 billion worth of roading built to get delegates to Rusky Island was washed away in the rain. One of the bridges caught fire during construction due to safety violations. The new opera house and 2 5-star hotels, designed to hold delegates, were still incomplete, and many of the roads outside of the APEC venues are in need of repair. Driving to the fort and getting to the beach were adventures in itself, and the first place I stayed in before moving to a different hotel was not great. But despite all of this, I loved Vladivostok, and I think my new Russian friend, Igor, said it best when he said that in Russia, you
don't look at the ground, look at the sky.
It's great to see progress. Before the 20th century, there were no roads to get into Vladivostok, and Vladivostok was closed to the outside world between World War II and 1992. So to go from that to 20 years later hosting the Asia Pacific's most important conference is a pretty amazing feat. Today, the people of Vladivostok are friendly. They're focused and passionate about business and about the Asia Pacific, and you can see the opportunity that hosting the conference has given the city. I can't wait to go back.